Hi, everyone. I received a note recently from a friend who was asking why more time in the UK when Place of Springs is moving ahead. And I thought some of you might have had a similar question. So this video, I'm hoping, will bring some understanding around why and how we came to the decision that we've come to. I imagine many of us, all of us, are trying to practice discernment of God's good purposes as a way of life. And we're in good company because since the beginning of God's story with people, God has been inviting men and women to learn how to choose between what is good and what is not good. This is the story threaded throughout Scripture, isn't it? To choose between that which will bring blessing and that which will not, or will bring destruction, Scripture calls it. But also to choose between what is good and what is better. And I don't know about you, but this can be a little bit trickier. So through these updates over MailChimp and YouTube over many months, we've been sharing with you our process of discerning the way forward in ministry, which has included purchasing this beautiful property where I'm sitting. And over the last months, we've been trying to drill down into how best to serve the needs of our family within the context of Place of Springs as a ministry. So this little video is to share a bit more of the process with you. So here goes. We've sought to practice, over the years, we've sought to practice some principles of discernment, if you like. And one of those is that we would make choices in line with our values. So if we're making a choice, it needs to be in line with the things that we value. And of course, we live our values, don't we? Not in a vacuum, but in practice. So through our years in overseas ministry, since we had kids, one strong value has been family, to value family over ministry rather than the other way around, which is great in principle. But what does it look like in practice when you're weighing the different needs of family members alongside ministry needs? Again, it's not always easy. So as Manu's been approaching the end of GCSEs, we've been aware that maybe a change was needed for her. Initially, we were aware that she might need options, education options that would not be available to her in Spain. We were also conscious that to pursue university education in the UK, she might need to be resident in the years leading up to attending university. But as time went on, we also realized that her needs are not just educational, but relate, maybe you could say, to identity development as someone who's grown up outside of her passport nation, and indeed ours, and is growing into young adulthood. So that was the first principle, to make choices in line with our values. And the second has been to check that whatever we're sensing might be the way forward is in line with any general or specific words or impressions from God that we've received up to that point. So during the long process of discerning that God was inviting us to trust for the purchase of a ministry house, one repeated sense we had was held in the two words, release and receive. And we sensed that we were not to grasp for what seemed important to us, but to keep releasing our lives and our desires and our sense of God's leading even to God. And in this posture of not grasping for ourselves, we sensed that we were to receive from God what God was giving us, that this was God's work to do. We were participating, but we were not the chief agents or chiefly responsible. So these words, release and receive, have come back to us as we've considered what it might mean to prioritize Manu's needs while also being faithful in ministry. This invitation to release whatever we might be tempted to hold on to, and to receive from God God's good purposes, God's good ways for this season. Another principle, you might say, at least another desire for many of us, is that we receive confirmations. we're all familiar maybe with the desire to have clarity and confirmation once we begin to sense a way forward. And the Bible's full of stories of people who wanted some solid confirmations. So again, we're in good company. These needs of Manu's were coming to light in the months before we'd actually purchased this place. And when it became clear that perhaps for Manu's sake, we needed to consider some time in the UK, Tim and I expressed two clear needs or desires. We thought they were needs to God. That was, firstly, by the time Manu needed to be in England, we would have bought and settled into a property in Spain, such that ministry there could be ongoing. So very clearly that desire has been answered. I'm sitting in the place that we have bought. We have had some months to settle in and establish ministry rhythms that can be ongoing. So amazing gift there, a confirmation, if you will. And the second need or desire was that we would have a place to stay within commuting distance from a college that would be appropriate for her, and that the accommodation would be affordable, agreed on in plenty of time, and that it would offer us an independent family space. Much as we love our dear friends, I'm not sure any of you would want us to be living with you for 2 years. So an independent family space. And again, that within a week of seriously considering the possible goodness of Manu being in England for A-levels, we'd been in touch with someone who's helped many missionaries by letting them stay at his property for times of furlough. And he agreed that we could use his house in Gloucestershire for 2 years, even though he'd never had people stay anywhere close to that long. And he also agreed that we could have our 2 dogs there, which was another huge kindness. And I've promised they will be very well behaved. So confirmations were forthcoming as we considered these possibilities. But of course, confirmation can't just be circumstantial. It's nice when circumstances line up, but it's not enough for us to know that it's the way forward. So wisdom suggests that we share our sense of leading with mature people in our lives to check that they also sense that the direction is a good one. And we're really privileged to have in place an advisory group, which is made up of 6 wonderful people that have journeyed with us through the process of raising finances and purchasing the property and setting up the Place of Springs as a charity and much more. It's been quite convoluted, as many of you know. So these were the natural people to turn to as this situation unfolded. And the group was able to hold with us our awareness of Manu's needs, as well as the needs of the ministry as it continues to develop. And they confirmed our sense that in spite of the new season at Place of Springs, this way forward seems right. And of course, they will continue to offer input to Tim and I as we seek to navigate what it looks like to juggle life with family and ministry commitments in 2 places. I've been thinking of St. Ignatius, who brings us on to another principle of discernment, if you like. I'm sure many of us are aware of St. Ignatius, who was a Spanish priest and a theologian in the 15th century, who's really well known for his teaching on discernment. And he has one principle that we're paying attention to, particularly over these couple of days. Ignatius advised people that once a significant decision has been made in a time of felt closeness with God, or an experience that he called consolation, not to change that decision when you experience desolation or when things feel harder. So this is really helpful for us to bear in mind as we move forward with our own big decision. Tim and the girls have made their way to England over the last couple of days, and I'm still in Spain to complete a week of debriefing with someone who's been located in Algeria. And as we've prepared the house for the next few weeks of our absence, and as I waved them off and spoke to them on arrival, it would be easy to think, oh my goodness, this is too hard. What have we done? So the invitation for us is to stay steady in the felt sense of God's leading. We made the decision carefully and over a period where the sense of the goodness of this for Manu and somehow in some unknown way for us was clear. And so we're seeking to stay steady in the transition time, which is not so easy. And having followed all the principles of discernment, now we have to begin to walk out the realities of the big decision. And often as we do that, things come to light that confirm the wisdom of the decision that you didn't know when you made it. So in other words, you might get the impression that maybe God knew some things that you didn't. At least I have had that impression. Earlier this year, my dad received a difficult medical diagnosis of a condition that's incurable. I have 3 siblings in the UK and a brother who lives with his family in New Zealand who'll be coming to England to visit my parents in the next months. And it just feels very kind of God to direct us to spend more time in closer proximity to family at a time like this. So unknowns can also come to light, which confirm the decision. I was on Facebook a couple of days ago, and you know how they show you these photos which are, memories from the past or whatever. And one popped up, which reminded me that 13 years ago, we left a season of ministry in Southern Africa and returned to England for what became a 2-year period of consolidation. We both completed master's degrees. We joined Church Mission Society as mission partners, and we discerned our decision to serve North Africa from southern Spain. And after 11 years here, we are now embarking on another season of consolidation, which is primarily a sense of consolidation for Manu as she moves towards being a young adult. But it's also a consolidation for Place of Springs ministry. Yes, in some ways, these 2 years will slow down the number of events we're able to host here. But in another sense, we will use this time to build prayer and financial partnerships that will sustain ministry development over the next season, fundraising for tiny homes and things like that, which we will have time to attend to because of the way life will be. So that will enable us to serve greater numbers of missionaries and through them communities in the Middle East and North Africa. So consolidation all round. So I hope this video is, and also the update that it's part of, will give you an idea of what the next months will look like. On a practical level, there's a number of people coming in and out of the house, all connected to the ministry that we do. But of course, if you've got any other questions, you know where to find us, and we'd really love to hear from you.